This story is called 9 Innings. She was in New York and I was in San Francisco, and I was getting better at not thinking about her each day. But on TV at Knicks, the Giants were playing the Mets, which meant that I could see with my own 2 eyes that something in San Francisco could touch something in New York. And it was not me touching her, but still, it was possible. A guy could get on a plane and a little while later he'd be in New York. Not at a ballpark, but at a woman's apartment. And so I told myself, okay, you've got 9 innings, then let it go. By the 7th, it was 16-2 Mets. Lousy game, the guy next to me said. In what sense? I said. In the 8th, the bartender made a move to change the channel. No, I said. We're getting killed. There's a woman I love in New York, I said. Is she at the game? No, she doesn't like baseball. If she was at the game, that would be one thing, the guy next to me said. She's in the city. She's going to see all these people tomorrow. It was true. She was going to see all of them tomorrow, and I was going to see everybody in San Francisco tomorrow, and they were all perfectly nice people to see, but none of them would be her. Those fellows understood. They understood even if they didn't know it just then. I saw another fellow at the end of the bar seem to ask the bartender to change it, and the bartender nodded towards me. I can tell you the whole story if you want, I thought. I can tell you how we knew each other in college, and somehow we both knew that if I ever felt the world steadily enough under my own 2 feet, that it would be love. It had been love back then too, only I had only declarations and dramatic gestures to offer her back then. Not the easy and sure understanding of what life was and how love fit into it, rather than the other way around. I thought of myself as an expert on love back then and a beginner at life. And I tried not to think about expertise at all these days, but the other way around was a good place to start at least. So when we saw each other back home in Seattle at Christmas, and she saw what had fallen away from me and what was left, we picked up right where I had always wished we'd left off. In the 9th, Pablo Sandoval hit a 3-run home run. I didn't say a word. 16-5 was nothing to get excited about anyway. The fellows at the bar took on the look of old hands, knowing that only someone who was some kind of beginner at baseball would think there was a chance. But the Giants put a couple of hits together, a single and 2 doubles, and it was 16-7. 9 runs was still an impossibility. But I saw the fellow at the end of the bar staring intently at his beer, as if in reconsideration of something. There was a walk, and then Andres Torres hit a 3-run shot, 16-10. I saw the fellow get up and walk towards me. I hope you see her soon, he said. Thank you, I said. I did not want to watch the game anymore. When they said that you asked to leave it on because of a woman in New York, I thought that was foolish. I am sorry for thinking that. It's all right, I said. 16-2 is a blowout. Yes, it is, but I should show a little more faith. Whatever happens now, I should show a little more faith. We watched as Freddie Sanchez hit a double. I hope you see her too, the guy next to me said. She must be something, he said, as if she was the one standing on second base. She is. She would have liked these 2 guys. She liked people and their funny old ways. She was like me. She got angry about people and she loved them, and she tried to lean a little more to the part of her that loved them. That was what was so nice about seeing each other in Seattle, was that we saw how hard each of us had been working since college, and love was seeing the possibility, at least, of someone you didn't have to work your hardest around. It was almost too much to look at for me. Buster Posey hit a bloop to right that fell in, so it was men on first and third, 1 out. When Pablo hit a double, the place went crazy. Listen, the fellow from the end of the bar said, you need to get on a plane and go to New York. That's nice of you to say. Forget nice. We're watching this because of her. If she can do this all the way in New York, imagine what she can do when you're in the same place. She can do more than this, I said. That is what I'm saying. There was a strikeout, but along the way there was a wild pitch, and Pablo made it to third. Then Mike Fontenot singled him home, 16-13. If we win this, the guy said, I'm going to help buy your ticket. That's all there is to it. You have to go. Men can get drunk in all kinds of ways, and one of them is witnessing the greatest sobriety of others. The giants looked as sober as I had ever seen them, but every man in the bar was drunk. They'd gone somewhere they didn't think they could go. Nobody knew that when it came to drunkenness, I'd had to set up some rules since the last time I saw her. 3 drinks if the music being played didn't make me think of her, 2 drinks if it did. I'll help out too, the other guy said. It was beautiful. They wanted to do something like the Giants were doing on TV. They wanted to exceed something. I thought I might just have to give them the chance. Aaron Rowan was up. I watched the ball leave his bat on the second pitch. I smiled. Maybe I really would see her. He didn't hit many out, but when he did, you knew it off the bat. Everybody embraced. It was a magnificent moment. She had done it. She had done it without even trying, which was how she did everything. That and trying very hard. I had to remember that we were still down by a run, but I felt like I had won because everybody believed me that there was a woman in New York that I loved. If you don't go now, the first guy said, I'm going to be upset. I certainly don't want to make you upset. No, you don't. You need to go and tell her about this. 13 runs in an inning, in the 9th. I'll try, but she doesn't know much about baseball. This isn't baseball. It's more than that. What is it? Love. It was good to hear someone else say it. We didn't have a street we could walk down together or a bar we could sit in together, but there was a guy in San Francisco who could see it, having seen the Giants score 13 runs in the 9th. The next batter struck out. I don't want to say his name because it was too heartbreaking. Still, the fellow from the end of the bar said, your point is made. The game was over, and everybody was wondering what to do next. I wanted very much to stay moving. I stood up to leave. Everything I said is still true, the fellow said. She is the one for you. Thanks, I said. You'll go to New York, right? I'll go. He smiled. The game was ending with a little bit of fittingness and rhythm for him, at least, as long as I would go to New York. And I would go sometime. I just wouldn't go because of the 9th inning, even if the Giants had come all the way back and won. I would go because of the game, because of the way that people had looked back in the 2nd inning just to be in the same city as her. I would go because of something that wasn't desperate and dramatic, but sure and easy. The kind of sureness and ease that had all kinds of hardship inside of it that I didn't have to tell anybody about. I didn't have to tell her about, at least. She just knew. She even knew what it took for me to watch a game in San Francisco that was being played in New York. And in that sense, she knew baseball as well as anybody in the bar. I could be wrong, I thought, but I don't think there's a clock to this thing. She was in New York and I was in San Francisco, but somehow we had already won. There was more than the 9th inning to baseball, and there was more than a plane flight across the country to love. Still, I thought I'd stay away from Knicks for a while. It had been awfully nice to have that guy root for me and her back there, and I liked the thought of him keeping that up.